a genius man and a good programmer, became the bossing and mastermind of a cartel. Surprisingly, he even chose the Philippines for it to live and operate. Who could this man be? And what is his purpose? Before we begin our story, and if you are new to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification button to be updated with life's amazing stories. Paul Le Roux is a programmer and born on December 24, 1972, in Bulaway, Zimbabwe. There is no specific information on his parents' recognition. According to reports, his mother was a single mom and could not support his children, while his father believed to be a soldier without concrete information. At the young age, his mother decided for him to be adopted. For 2 months, the young Paul was staying at Lady Rodwell Maternity Hospital, and his name on the birth certificate is unknown. 2 months later, the couple adopted him as Paul and Judy Le Roux. This couple gave him the new name, Paul Le Roux, while he also has a younger sister. The family lived in Mashaba, Zimbabwe. Here, their main source of income is asbestos mining. The couple described Paul as a child who was happy and raised in a loving family. When Paul was in grade 6, his parents sent him to a boarding school because according to them it might not be enough to teach in public school for their child. Every weekend, he went to his relatives in different towns. According to one of his relatives, they are scoffing at him because they want him to be with them. Also, his grandfather and grandmother like him for his kindness and brains. In 1984, after the white minority rule, the family moved to South Africa to give Paul a better education. They were staying in a town just a kilometer from Jonesberg, and this is the town of Krugersdorp, known as the gold mine. Here, his father built his own business, a charcoal mine that eventually enriched them. Paul describes being a tall, handsome, and clean young man. At school, Paul was not very friendly and he was known for his presence by the authorities. Paul also did not want to study the African language, a language that students in South African schools need to learn. Paul does not deal well with his new classmates, because he seems to be mouth-watering with various insults about his classmates for calling it bullshit and ignorant. When Paul was 16 years old, his father gave him a computer in exchange for washing his car. Unlike other children as old as he is not fond of any sports. Paul, instead, loved playing video games on his computer. His simple interest in computers changed the day a group of cops entered their homes. They arrested Paul for allegedly selling obscene shows, a big scandal for their family. But they kept it from the public, and according to Paul's relatives, it would only leave the circumstances behind. And he said that the sale of obscene materials is one easy way to make money. And that's where the change to young Paul Le Roux began. Paul eventually lost his interest in learning to reach the point where he stopped as well as his college. He continued his study of the computer. He just enrolled in online programs about programming. The other 1-year course ended only by 8 weeks. And within a year, he had 3 certificates for 3 programming courses. When he was 18 years old, he flew to London. And according to his cousin who took him to the airport, Paul's luggage was too heavy. They later learned that Paul had no clothes and that he had only a book in his luggage. A few years later from his flight, Paul got a job as a programmer. In 1994, he met his first wife, Michelle. And in 1995, he followed her to Australia and got married and gained Australian citizenship. Between the years 1997 and 1998, Paul developed the E4M, or the so-called encryption for masses. A computer program that can store important user information inside the computer from a government spy. After 2 years of developing E4M, he exhausted his funding for his divorce from his wife in Brisbane happens in 1999. After divorcing his wife, he flew to Hong Kong but flew again to Rotterdam, Netherlands. Here, he met his second wife, Lilian Chung-Yuen Pui, a Dutch citizen, and they had a son. In 2002, the truth came out after Paul and his aunt talked to him about his true character. Paul was very sad when he found out he was adopted, and he was even sadder when he saw his original birth certificate whose name was unknown. In 2003, he started another new online business in Florida. He called his company RX Limited. Here, a person can buy medicine after he or she has taken a form about what his or her illness, medical history, and symptoms are. The customer beheaded form is being sent to U.S. doctors. There, they are resuscitated by the drug and the patient's charges are paid through credit cards. His online business output was good and in fact, He earned $5 million, or 239 million pesos a month. He also had call center agents based in Israel and the Philippines. They took orders and addressed customers' complaints. But his income was not enough for him, so Paul became savage for money. Paul bought land in Zimbabwe for $12 million, or 573 million pesos. And he also entered illegal logging in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but left it in 2008. In 2007, Paul flew to the Philippines to live here. He went to a subdivision at Dasmariñas Cavite with many staff and soldiers. From there, Paul expanded his business. He entered large shipments of weapons, gold smuggling, illegal logging, mining, and money laundering. While all his income was in illegal work, he dropped and stored his money in his home in Hong Kong that was tightly guarded by soldiers from Israel. He successfully did it because of his knowledge of encryption. He used different names in each transaction and kept all his vital information on his laptop. Because of Paul Le Roux's dirty work, he has little confidence. Whenever he has a suspicious person, he knocks it down. That included Bruce Jones, Paul's crew who helped to ship the guns, and was shot dead in the Angeles Pampanga. Michael Ontok is also a staff member of Paul Le Roux, who was shot at an intersection in Manila. Meanwhile, Paul's lawyer Jones Nega is suddenly gone. Subsequently, 2 brokers were still knocked down by Paul's staff. This is Noemi Diller and Catherine Lee. But Paul Le Roux has not been charged with the case. The PDEA, therefore, began the investigation against Paul on the possibility of his involvement in it. On September 25, 2012, Paul was arrested by the Liberian police after PDEA was arrested as a client from Colombia. He tried to bribe them to escape, but he failed to bribe them. And to reduce the year of his imprisonment, Paul worked with the police. Paul says he'll cooperate because he doesn't want to be in prison for a lifetime, and he asks what they want to know. After his statement, he signed an agreement stating that whatever crime he admitted could not be used against him in court. In December 2014, Paul admitted his involvement in the entry of illegal contraband into the U.S. He was also involved in selling technology to Iran, killing 7 people, and fraud, and treason. Following Paul's cooperation with the police also caught his colleagues. That includes his hitman, killing his opponents, and the killer of broker Catherine Lee. On June 12, 2020, Paul was sentenced to 25 years in prison in the U.S., according to Judge Ronnie Abrams. And after he fled, he was expected to return to the Philippines to face his case about his involvement in the death of some people like broker Catherine Lee. This is the story of a man called genius within the world of technology. A man who grew up in the feeling of a loving family, but brought about his ambition and moneylenders. Paul Le Roux is a wise man who has been a threat to both technology and business because of his skill and talent. But he wasted it and used it in illegal ways. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to be updated with life amazing stories.